Mr. Speaker, our next speaker is the lady from AAMBIS-OWA, and I move that we recognize the Honorable Sharon Garin.
The Honorable Representative Sharon S. Garin of the party list AAMBIS-OWA is recognized to deliver her privileged speech. You have the floor, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues in this august chamber, I rise on a matter of personal collective privilege. A few weeks ago, a disaster of national implication befell in our country. Jollibee was not able to serve Chicken Joy. The problem happened in so many Jollibee branches that the hashtag #ChickenSad became a trending topic worldwide. The Jollibee Corporation, however, was quick to point out that it was a technical or a logistical glitch. It is, however, possible that a similar occurrence could have happened in other companies and industries due to the problem of port congestion in the Port of Manila. The effects of port congestions are far wider and burdensome than a mere restaurant failing to serve their fried chicken. Port congestion, according to the Center for the Advancement of Trade Integration and Facilitation, the ideal port optimization should be 70% of capacity. But the current port capacity is at 95%. It even reached 110% last June. At one point, there were more than 75 containers at the port, 22,000 of which were empty containers, while the rest were seized or forfeited goods and due for release goods, leaving port equipment with no elbow room to work. Shipping and trucking costs have increased exponentially due to the interruption of supply chain. The delays in shipping affected the flow of delivery of goods. What took 7 days to deliver became 3 weeks at a minimum. OFW packages, exports, and imports of products were delayed as forwarding companies faced problems regarding their contracts with shipping companies, resulting to a loss of income for all the forwarding, shipping, and trucking companies. Trucking costs have reportedly increased by as much as 100% to 300%, from 8,000 to 30,000 pesos. The congestion likewise caused additional costs of $1,300 for port stakeholders, for terminal handling, container imbalance, and emergency recovery fees. Trade lanes were interrupted. The delay in the delivery of raw materials and intermediate goods needed for production in many industries resulted to the decreased production, loss of income, and loss of jobs. For the steel industry, operational costs have increased by 50%. For the chemical industry, losses were estimated at 3 to 4 billion pesos and job loss at 5% of their workforce. For the food industry, the delay in the delivery of raw materials has decreased production, job losses, and caused the increase in food prices. Semiconductors and electronics industry in the Philippines reported a 43 million pesos loss per day due to lack of materials. The Foreign Chamber warned that an immediate layoff of 18,000 workers will happen because of the resulting delay in delivery of materials. Imagine the far-reaching effects of these layoffs, considering our already very high unemployment rates in the country. There is also the decrease in trade volume. According to the Food Chamber, the credibility of the Philippines is also at stake as local manufacturers are not able to meet the deadline set by their customers abroad. According to Citigroup, the negative impact of port congestion to the economy will result to losses about 61 billion to 320 billion pesos because Manila Port accounts for 1/3 of the total inbound and outbound cargo. The Bureau of Export Trade Promotion reported that the growth forecast of 5.8% to 7.2% in export growth is no longer feasible. Reportedly, if the port congestion is not addressed, GDP may be cut by 5%. Basically, if trade volume decreases, it affects supply and demand, decreasing manufacturing output, leaving thousands of Filipinos out of jobs. There is the domino effect of inflation. Most alarming and basic is that when trade lanes are interrupted, there is a resulting delay in the delivery of goods and raw materials for factories and agricultural products. The shortages of products began in the many supermarkets, leading to increased prices of basic commodities. For example, news reports from the bigger markets like Mega Q-Mart pegged the price of chicken to be at 140 per kilo, or 30 pesos more than the expected current market price, even though farm gate prices remain constant. Basically, a 50% increase in queuing time will increase the freight cost, then increase the delivery and storage cost, increase the price of basic commodities, thereby increasing inflation rate by 4.9%, the highest so far in 3 years, and eventually decreasing our growth rate. Many critics were content to blame that the resulting issues are caused by the truck ban implemented by the City of Manila. I do not fully agree to this. What I believe is that the truck ban has been the proximate cause of the port congestion, as it exacerbated the long-standing problems already existing and other underlying causes that resulted to the port congestion. Of course, our government has made efforts, such as the use of Batangas and Subic ports, request for international shipping lines to temporarily waive some fees for a period of 2 to 3 months, the transport of empty containers by barges to the Subic port, provide a separate 24/7 separate single lane for truckers, temporary lifting of the truck ban in areas especially in Manila. However, those are temporary solutions. The resulting port congestion has brought into for the issue which has plagued the entry and exit of goods in our country for a long time. Before the truck ban was implemented, the ports were already congested beyond a healthy balance. 50% of the containers in the container yards were reportedly empty containers. The recommendations I mentioned earlier, or the solutions I mentioned earlier, are mostly short-term solutions, and we are in need of a more long-term solution because this is beyond a truck ban problem. The long overdue upgrading of the ports and the supporting infrastructure around the area should be a priority. The facilities surrounding the port will show that there are either dilapidated or not big enough to handle the volume of trade coming in Manila Port. The volume trade increases by 7 to 10% annually. The south and north ports were established back in 1940s. The port infrastructure has not met the demands of the increasing trade, nor has it been modernized, nor is it more secure today. The infrastructure problem is the logistics of delivering goods in the containers in and out of the ports. If we should have an average of 5,000 trucks getting in and out of the port, do we have the road infrastructure to facilitate fast delivery of goods to the stakeholders? Manila is congested. That is a fact that we face every day. Does this not call for additional roads, especially for delivery trucks, or a new skyway, or the revitalization of the railway system? If 1/3 of the national cross-border trade happen in Manila Port, how can we not clear the dilapidated and unused buildings around its perimeter? Why don't we move the informal settlers within the area? Why don't we make the roads safe and unobstructed for the exit and entry of the goods in the area? We also have to modernize the Bureau of Customs. When the goods arrive in Batangas, they file their import entry electronically. Then they print this out, they send it manually to Port of Manila to process the transit permit, which is then sent back by the Port of Manila by messenger back to Batangas. This takes at least 3 days, which should only be a few minutes if we are fully automated. Computerization, upgrading, and use of modern technology will lessen face-to-face transactions at the Bureau of Customs and will help in faster trade facilitation and curb corruption within the Bureau. Lastly, for the part of the legislature, we have to modernize the current customs and tariff law. We cannot ignore the fact that many of the problems regarding port congestion will be addressed by modernizing our customs policy. To attract more trade, customs must not be treated as a mere income-generating agency, but principally a gateway for trade facilitation. Likewise, a centralized and more efficient system will also help in the disposition of all seized and abandoned goods, which are going to waste as we speak because of the delay in its disposition. My fellow legislators, the truck ban served as a catalyst for us to realize that there are deeper and systematic problems in the port congestion issue. Solving the problem of port congestion should not be limited into a narrow scope because the resulting effects go beyond the borders of Manila. Let us not forget that Christmas season is also fast approaching. If the condition remains the same, the influx of products starting September will even worsen the port congestion. It is expected the trade volume will increase by as much as 60% due to the Christmas season. Ultimately, it is not only businesses which are affected. As the domino effects come trickling down, congested ports led to delay of delivery of both intermediate and processed goods, which leads to shortages and increase in prices and eventually loss of jobs. All this are a burden for our already overburdened fellow Filipinos whose daily living wages are barely enough to cover the needs of their families. As a simple example, coconut products are the biggest export of our country, amounting to $1.5 billion annually. The delays and increased export costs will endanger the credibility of our exporters, likely affecting the volume of their exports, and significantly affecting the livelihood of 3 million coconut farmers, or around 20 million Filipinos. In 2010, we were exporting 32,000 kilos of coconut sugar. By 2012, we were already exporting 220,000 kilos. This is an outstanding improvement in the industry in 3 years. If we do not take action, we are therefore sending a message of apathy to the millions of coconut farmers living in subsistence income. If we do not take action, we belittle the great strides this country has taken in achieving a 7% national growth rate. If we do not take action immediately and comprehensively, our economy, currently one of the fastest growing economies in the world, will surely deteriorate and collapse. Thank you very much and good evening. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Honor. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Garin to the Committee on Rules.
Without objection, the speech of the Honorable Representative Sharon S. Garin is referred to the Committee on Rules.